Hey guys, I'm Luke and this is Feathering Down Homestead, and right here is the worst garden tour I'm going to ever show you, and it's bad. So nevertheless, let's get into it and I'll show you what's going on. So this here is Athenas Garden. There's actually 8 beds in here, as you can see or not see. It's covered in kikuyu grass, and we've had some pretty bad floods. We got to a point in summer where we were having a flood a month, and basically it's probably about waist deep, so yeah, about up to here. So it goes all over these beds when it floods, and we're gonna have to sort something out because the creek's right down here, and I can't do how I did the other garden and put tin around because it'll just get in. So I don't know, she's pretty much neglected it. We've done some mowing, and we actually planted it out in spring, and it just went wild on us because it flooded and we just let it be. She built a pea trellis up here. There might still be some peas in there, but as you can see, it's just all kikuyu grass. And in here there's some celery. There was some broccoli, cabbages. Over there was some gem corn. Oh, and we did have some vanilla passion fruit growing up on those trellises as well. But there is some loofahs up there. That's probably the only thing growing in her garden at the moment, apart from the celery. But yeah, so this is Athenas Garden. Very neglected. Probably needs an extreme makeover of some sort, and we'll just have to cross our fingers that it doesn't flood, or we'll just have to completely change this area. But basically I'm going from worst to best, so this is the worst of the worst, and it's Athenas, so that's probably why. But there's been a lot going on in our lives, so that's Athena hasn't really been the keenest gardener as of this last year, so I'll let her off with that one. Okay, this is my original garden. And over here I had some corn planted. Now I've got kikuyu and weeds. Over here I think I had corn as well, maybe some gem corn, but now it's just weeds and kumara, sweet potato, which if they last the frost, then I might grab them and plant them up in the food forest, just like, you know, cut the limbs of them, put them in some water. Over here is a bed that I tried to grow some okra in, and then I just ended up cover cropping it, and now it's pretty much just weed jungle. This is all weeds. This is definitely not cover crop. Obviously the greenhouse you've seen in there, it's just pretty much full of tropical fruit plants, and that's probably the best thing that's in here at the moment. There's another bed, as you can see over there, another weed jungle. There's a lot of weed jungles in here. There might actually be some onions in amongst the weeds, but they might have rotted by now. Kind of forgot about them. Here's our worm farm. As you can see, pretty much it's pretty much no worms left. It's like cockroaches, maybe some ants, maybe some worm castings, but that's about it. Debs is planning on doing a makeover over by the compost for the worms, so yeah, we'll keep you updated with that, but it's been neglected for a while. Over here is our tomato trellis. So there was some tomatoes in here. There's still some plants, but they're pretty much dying. Got to a point where we weren't getting tomatoes and we didn't know why, but the reason we weren't getting tomatoes is because the ducks, we left the gate open and the ducks kept coming in and jumping up and eating the tomatoes. So that's why we were never getting tomatoes. But I did have some peppers, eggplants, beans all along here. Yeah, they grew alright. Yeah, it doesn't flood as bad in this row as it does over there, but it was still not that great. And I did have some pretty crappy compost this year, so yeah, maybe it's the compost, not me. Over here is the last row in this bed, so it's pretty much got beans all along the top row, and I did have some garlic over winter, and I tried some cover crop in the bottom, and I've got some loofah up there with some comfrey at the end, but pretty much it's still quite a disaster in here. The other animal that came through here was one of the pigs. One of the smaller pigs got out of over behind me in the orchard. It found a way around to the garden, so basically killed all the cover crop in here, got some of the corn, basically annihilated the whole garden in a day. But yeah, and then as well I've got some more loofahs up here, so we just pretty much make sponges just to wash your hands and stuff in the house. They're real easy to grow. They're more like they just take off in autumn, but if you leave them out too long they will rot, but they're such an awesome vegetable. If you can eat them when they're really small, but if you let them get this big they're quite uneatable. Whoa, cobwebs. So yeah, that's pretty much the original garden. This is like the mesh fence for it. It's about 10 by 20 meters, I would say. I don't know that in feet, but yeah, that's pretty much the second worst garden. Okay, this is probably the third worst garden, and it's not a bad garden. It's our berry patch. We created this about 2 years ago. So it's got blueberries, got a few blueberry plants, lots of strawberries, and there was some currants on the side, but I don't know if they died or not. There's boysenberries in here, there's raspberries in here, there's some seedless grapes in here, gooseberries, there's some white strawberries, there's a ton of stuff in here, but as you can see the weeds have taken over. So this is definitely something that's in the near future, because in winters we want to transplant more strawberries around the place than that, but I've actually got to get rid of a lot of weeds on the perimeter of this berry patch, and there's a lot of that vine weed up in the netting as well that's sort of taken that down. But there's a ton of work to do in here, a ton of feeding to do in here, but my priorities are probably with what you see over here, which is the aviary that we turned into a greenhouse. So still getting raspberries, but they got worms on them, so definitely not eating them. So that is our berry patch. It is actually quite a cool garden. It's Debs's patch, this one here. So this is her garden and the girls, Raven and Matilda. So hopefully they can weed it, not me. They're doing a good job. They have been weeding and chucking in the compost lately, so it's just slow and steady wins the race. And yeah, hopefully we can turn this back to an oasis of what it originally was. And hopefully we get a lot of berries in spring. Yeah, that's garden number 3. Okay, this is garden number 4, and this is the newest, well, I say that, probably the second newest edition garden, one of the newest anyway. It's the market garden, so the plan here was to grow food for the markets and team up with my mum, who helped kind of fund this garden. But as you've seen with other videos, we've had a lot of flooding, like a lot of flooding. So in here it's on a slight contour, so over 30 meters, it's probably like almost a meter at one end lower, and that's how the flood water comes in. And probably where those nets are there, it just gets to those nets. So all these beds get completely covered. But I did actually have garlic in 4 beds last year, and they survived no problem. I had real good harvest. So this year I'm actually going to plant more garlic. It's elephant garlic, not your normal garlic, but still they say they don't like wet feet, but these ones really got wet feet, like real bad. So this year I'm planning on sort of quadrupling the garlic, so it's going to be all in these 4 beds, these 4 beds down here, and the 4 beds up there. Pretty much everywhere in here is going to be elephant garlic. And I put up these trellis in here to keep out like the poop geckos and whatnot, and basically to tie up your tomatoes or your beans or anything climbing, so you can they can go onto that instead of having to make stuff in the middle and stuff. All the climbing stuff is all to the perimeter here. See, like this, like these Lokis here, and they're really weighing down the fence too. They're ready to come out. Debs is just seeing if she can dry them so she can make crafty stuff out of them like she does our normal gourds. This is some passion fruit here. So I've got 2 passion fruit plants here, and they're actually taken off. A lot of stuff actually doesn't mind getting flooded, but this whole area here, it might look a bit different in a year's time, but for now it just needs a bit of weeding and it will be primo again, apart from the floods. So this down here is basically where the flood water is receding, and plus where there's cracks where I've joined the tin, that's where they're sort of coming out as well. But yeah, I might as well have called it the flooded garden, because once a month at least it's actually flooded. Well, I've definitely seen that Enzo has been in here, our dog, because look over here, I don't think ducks and geese and chickens do digging like that. Big paw marks. Enzo, stay out of the garden. So yeah, the only thing that's actually growing in here at the moment is down here, leeks. So this is a whole bed of leeks, and I've got 2 beds of cover crops over there, and some more onions over there, and pretty much this bed over here is just a herb and flower bed. So we've got some swan plants and some basil and chives and Jerusalem artichokes and all that kind of stuff. And the chickens are just over here. So all of our weeds, excess greenery and that, we just throw over to the chickens. And she's got a composting station over there where we put the weeds and cow poo and all sorts of wood chips and everything. But at the moment it's a bit of a mud pit, so that's another story for another day. So that's garden number 4 done and dusted. Okay, so this garden is probably the most transformed garden out of all of them. It used to look a lot different back maybe 2 years ago, and then it got neglected, and now we've sort of just brought it back to life. So we've still got zucchini growing, and it's sort of coming to the end of autumn at the moment, but they're still thriving along. We're probably noticing we're not getting as many zucchinis, but in this bed here we've got some beetroots, carrots, lots of carrots in both beds, lettuce, there's carrots in between the lettuce. Over here we've got cabbages, which in the last video you've seen all these white caterpillars in here, which is still a load of them. The kids are going to have to come out again and get some more M&Ms. They got an M&M for every caterpillar they got and fed to the chickens. Normally I use BT spray, and I spray that on all the brassicas, but it's been so wet lately, there's been no dry weather, and if I spray the BT spray it's just going to wash off. So you sort of want a couple of days of dry weather to actually spray it. But the only other method is to use nets, and as you can see around the place, all my nets are basically being used because I need the white ones insect netting. But for now, it's just going to have to be more M&Ms for the kids. They can come down tomorrow and pick some more caterpillars. Sure, they'll love that. But yeah, we've got a pea trellis up here. We've got lots of onions that I need to thin out through here, and then we've got some radishes down there. And in this bed we've got some spring onions over here, and then we've got some lettuce in between with some celery down there as well. This bed here probably excites me the most because this is what I want to do a lot of in spring. I'm planting the brassicas all through the middle of this row, so all broccoli, cauliflower, cabbages and stuff like that, and then I've got beans on the outside of them, so they're acting as a nitrogen fixer plus getting beans as well. And then like the cabbage and broccoli and that's got heaps of room to grow and expand. They're not sort of competing for space. So basically this whole area, come spring, I'm probably going to plant exactly like that, and I probably have a ton of beans, but we can it and we preserve it, so we can never have enough beans really. In the other row here I've got silver beet, spinach, kale, and then in the last row there I have a bunch of weeds. So that was our homemade compost. The rest of the compost we bought, but the homemade compost, we actually got more weeds in it because I don't think it got hot enough in the actual compost pile, and the weeds, when we put the compost out, the weeds kind of just took over. So there's a lesson for you, just make sure your compost pile is really hot, or put out all the compost first and then just maybe put a black tarp over it for like a couple of weeks in real hot weather, and hopefully that'll kill all the weed seeds coming up. And part of this garden here is over here where I had okra this year, which when we had Cyclone Gabrielle pretty much nailed all the okra. It like flattened them all out. So the only thing I did get some seeds from the okra that I've got in the greenhouse. Hopefully I've got enough seeds for next year to plant. But at the moment here, this is not weeds, this is cover crop. So it's like grains like oats, barley and stuff like that. So there's 4 rows. Those 2 rows I have to use the netting because the birds just come and annihilate it all. So yeah, I've got 4 rows of cover crop at the moment, and that'll be all okra in spring. And then I've got this trellis up here, which I grew bitter melon, which didn't grow well. Rain, I'm always blaming the rain, but it was either rain or compost, wasn't me. So this year I'll be growing more bitter melon up there, and probably beans on the side of it, just to give the ground a bit more to feed off. So yeah, that's garden number 5, and I call this one my wood chip garden, and I'm still calling it my wood chip garden because I've basically got wood shavings all down in the paths, and I'll probably put more all in here and more wood chips in here too. Oh, and I do have asparagus down here, but don't look there because it's very weedy, and just look on that side. Okay, this is not really a garden, but it is a garden. This is what I tried to grow pumpkins and watermelon on last year. So where all the weeds are, 4 rows, they're about 10 meters long. I attempted to plant the watermelon pumpkins. Again, the rain annihilated them, but I will be probably soon planting some cover crop in there, ready for spring, so I can jam pack it full of watermelon and pumpkins and squashes and what have you, all the ground crawlers, again in spring. And then over here is my potato patch. Yeah, so we probably got about 200 kgs from this patch. I think it's about 7 by 7 meters roughly. Haven't got a tape on me, but it's something like that. And it was quite a lot of digging. I thought if I put the potatoes in their own area, it kind of destroys the soil. So if it's out of all the other gardens, it's not doing so much damage, because you've got to dig up the potatoes and destroy all the microbes and everything like that you're building in the soil. I thought I'd just give it its own patch and then every time I pull the potatoes, I just plant cover crops. So this is like a legume mix. So the kids have been picking peas and that out of here, and I don't know if the ducks have been in here, but the ducks will be in here because soon I'm actually gonna chop all this with the weed eater, lay it down, and then I'm gonna put the duck netting around here and let the ducks kind of eat it all, pull it all up, add the manure, and then hopefully I can tarp it for like a couple of weeks and then get some potatoes in the ground. I'm just basically waiting for my potatoes to sprout up there, and then yeah, basically it's a lot to do. There's a lot to do everywhere. But yeah, I'd say that's garden number 6. I can't hold up 2 hands because one's holding the camera. But yeah, 6 gardens all up. Some of them worse than other. I think I was supposed to go from worse to better, but yeah, I think over here is pretty bad. So the last one's probably the best garden you've seen. Anyways, I'll let you guys get to it, get gardening. Hopefully your garden is not as bad as mine. But yeah, if you want a bit of inspiration, maybe go check out one of my earlier videos of a garden tour in spring 2 years ago, where everything was pumping. I had so much stuff growing that we couldn't keep up with processing it and everything like that. So I'll leave this video over here or over here, and you guys can watch that. And remember to subscribe and all that good stuff. Give us a thumbs up, a comment, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Look out.